And at 10, Radioactive Foxy. No, he's not an Imagine Dragons fan. Radioactive Foxy is one of the Wasteland themed skins added in the Wasteland event for FNAF AR Special Delivery. You can purchase his skin and lures from the shop. Radioactive Foxy looks almost identical to normal Foxy. The only difference is that now Foxy is neon green. And he's radioactive, okay? And his body is slightly translucent, making his endoskeleton fairly visible, also featuring a faint radioactive symbol on his belly. And a dual hook consisting of like a different design compared to that of Foxy's normal hook, but it has two hooks, okay? Because get it, he's radioactive, he's mutated. But this is exactly the kind of thing that the SCP Foundation would contain. I mean, just look at it. This isn't a normal thing, okay? And while it is radioactive, it's also a sentient animatronic robot looking like he just came straight out of Chernobyl, so yeah, the SCP Foundation would be all over this dude. He'd be contained, and depending on his aggression, probably classified as Keter, considering what we deal with in the game. But this guy, he just looks like trouble. He looks for trouble. Call him SCP-1987. I know it's already a thing, but just let me make a bite of 87 joke, okay? In at 9, VR Toy Freddy. VR Toy Freddy is a neon-themed skin for Toy Freddy released on May 7th, 2020. He's also the first skin for Toy Freddy in Special Delivery, and he's also the first of 3 skins from the Arcade Mayhem event. And honestly, these 3 animatronics as one SCP would still make sense, like SCP-1987A, B, and C. He appears to be similar to the nature of Toy Freddy Fazbear, almost sharing the exact same model with him, but this time he's wearing VR goggles. His appearance is a dark neon purple, which also applies to his hat, bow tie, buttons, and microphone. He's textured with a few like cyber style circuit lines, and he wears a virtual reality headset regularly. During encounters though, he is replaced by his attack mode variant named Livewire Toy Freddy, and in this form, his purple color turns to a fiery orange. He's covered with several glowing yellow circuit web textures, and he no longer wears his headset and reveals his bright yellow-green glowing eyes. This kind of theme remains present throughout the other 2 in this set as well, and I think that their anomalous property would come from like when specific things glitch. Like Freddy would come out when a VR game glitches, Chica would be in arcade machines, and then Bonnie would appear for like a critical system error, considering how their skin is system error Toy Bonnie. In at 8, Phantom Animatronics. The Phantom Animatronics are hallucination variants of the original animatronics who haunt Fazbear's Fright throughout the Nights of FNAF 3. The Freddy Files book also points out how these hallucinations appear to be burnt, suggesting that they're warning you about what's coming. The Phantom Animatronics first appeared in FNAF 3 as side antagonists. Some of them returned in Ultimate Custom Night, but I guarantee they all came back and helped Wanted. They include but are not limited to the Puppet, Foxy, Chica, Balloon Boy. There are multiple Phantom Animatronics that could possibly be considered SCPs. I mean, like the Phantoms are already the scariest part of FNAF, so any one of them or even the group being considered an SCP that comes out whenever the oxygen level gets too low seems kind of reasonable. They would also probably cause the cameras to glitch out and audio to sound distorted, which is something that they also kind of did in the game. But this is definitely something worthy of SCP-1987. Yes, I'm going to keep calling it 1987, alright? And at 6, the daycare attendant. Do I even really need to explain this one? Especially if this thing was a human, okay? This would be 100% considered anomalous. The daycare attendant, otherwise known in-game as Sundrop or Moondrop, is a superstar daycare animatronic that appears in Security Breach as a recurring antagonist in its moon form. As Sun, the daycare attendant is upbeat and energetic, kinda like Funtime Freddy, or me when I've had a couple monster. He enjoys doing activities with children, I don't, such as putting on puppet shows and drinking Fizzy Faz. I like the Fizzy Faz. When Gregory knocks down the structures as a way to distract him, Sun panics and quickly rushes to clean them up. He's also very serious about keeping the lights on as a way to prevent himself from transforming into Moon. As Moon, the daycare attendant is malevolent and aggressive, who constantly chases Gregory once the lights are turned off and attempts to punish him for being a naughty boy, which is already a problem. Even though Moon still has a distaste for messes and is responsible for cleaning them up, just as his daytime counterpart is, but Moon does so to a more demented degree. The fact that they can change between the two, that it also changes his entire appearance when the lights go out, is definitely SCP material. The man who casts like a shadow that grabs people, I think it's a man at least, like the shadow that grabs people and he has to have like lights on from like all angles, or how Peanut needs to be watched constantly. Sun would need the lights to be on at all times to ensure that he didn't turn into Moon. They would have to have like 14 backup generators. This is exactly the kind of thing that someone would write about in the SCP Wiki. Halfway through into number 5, Helpy. Helpy made his first appearance at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, aka FNAF 6. Helpy is a small animatronic mascot that has a very similar appearance to Funtime Freddy from Sister Location with white and purple colors, albeit being smaller and chubbier. He kinda has like a FNAF World kind of vibe. Helpy also lacks an endoskeleton, a speaker, inner wirings, and faceplates. His overall description though has many similarities, like I said, to the designs of the characters in the FNAF spin-off FNAF world, because he's more friendly looking and small and chonky. And while typically helpful characters wouldn't really be seen in the back rooms, Helpy seems to be able to get anywhere and everywhere he wants. He can seemingly come from the FNAF World game and become canon. He can pop up behind the monitor in FNAF VR on random occasions. He can pop up in like opening filing cabinets in FNAF 2 in FNAF VR, so I wouldn't put it past him for him just showing up in an area only accessible by no clipping out of reality. The man literally transcended game dimensions, or even in the context of FNAF, just normal dimensions, so yeah, Helpy in the back rooms, totally not out of the question. In fact, it should be canon. In it for Glitch Trap. Glitch Trap, also referred to as the Anomaly by Tape Girl, is the main antagonist of FNAF Help Wanted. He's a digital virus who is confirmed to be William Afton that lies within the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience. While inside the Fazbear virtual experience, his main goal is to merge with the player in order to escape the digital world, that player being Vanny. Being a literal sentient code being, I think would absolutely draw the attention of the SCP Foundation, even if it wasn't an SCP. A consciousness that can take control over someone by assimilating them through a VR headset, such a load of that it doesn't even make sense in the FNAF universe, let alone in a world where the SCP Foundation exists and is aiming to contain anomalous things. A VR game possessed by a sentient code serial killer that wants to escape through someone? Yeah, that computer, the game, and the headset are all being confiscated and being brought back to Site A where they can contain it properly. Probably class it as Euclid, since it can't really do any physical harm unless it's used, and then they'd probably run some tests with Class D personnel to try to figure out what's really going on. They could have like a chat with William and then just kill the Class D when they're done talking. And then hope that killing the Class D then puts William back in the game instead of just releasing him into the world. Okay, there could be a lot of valuable information learned this way. Maybe I could. No, Connor, stop. Okay, you're already on multiple watch lists. You don't need to put yourself on any more. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Nightmare Animatronics. The Nightmare Animatronics are also heavily withered, exaggeratingly monstrous versions of the existing animatronics that reside inside the crying child's coma dream in FNAF 4. Most of the Nightmare Animatronics are featured with a deteriorated appearance and a big series of rips and holes all over their bodies, sporting a total of 10 fingers each with spike-like claws attached. Great, wonderful. Also an excessively large amount of long, dangerously sharp teeth. They also have small metallic eyes, because of course they do. Their endoskeleton heads look suspiciously similar to that of a human skull, with a line of indentations down their forehead, and considering their name, it's literally the Nightmare Animatronics that I think would absolutely be fitting to be in the back rooms. I mean, like, look at them and tell me that these buggers don't belong here, and you'll be lying to me. But at least you're not under oath. But ultimately, in at number 2, Nightmare. Nightmare is a cruel, twisted animatronic who is sadistic in nature. This is apparent in Ultimate Custom Night, where he informs the player of their death in a rather sadistic manner. He also appears to enjoy mocking his victims. Upon getting the chance to do so, he speaks using a deep, monstrous voice, befitting his name. The name also comes from the fact that these are dreamt-up animatronics present in Crying Child's mind after being put into coma by overpowered Fredbear's jaw, and since Fredbear is the one who put Crying Child in the coma in the first place, it makes sense that their Dark Death Omen version is called Nightmare. I mean, this is a representation of death after all, and I think that's what the SCP version of the character would be as well. An omen of death, a bringer of destruction. Anything caught in the shadow of this animatronic would instantly perish due to a crushed skull. This idea coming from the fact that you can see Nightmare's endoskeleton through his casing, making it seem like this endoskeleton is merely encased in shadow. So being in what would be the shadow of this creature, even if it isn't visible, could in my mind end up killing you via a crushed skull. Of course. Call this one SCP-1983. Get it? Cause the bite of 83? Cause FNAF 4 takes place in 1983, damn it. And finally, in at number 1, Glam Rock Endo. The Glamrock Endos are the endoskeletons engineered for Glamrock animatronics of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex and appear in FNAF Security Breach as hostile enemies, appearing in various places all over the map, but most notably in Parts and Service. The Glamrock Endo is a very high-tech version of the original endoskeleton, being gray in color as usual, like the original Mark 1 and Mark 2, but these ones are seemingly much stronger, with broader shoulders and a seemingly more superhero-shaped body. Like when you're drawing the stick figure base for a superhero and you use that like inverted Dorito shape, yeah. These are also seemingly just for the male Glamrock animatronics, since if we're being real, Chica's thick, but she doesn't have massive shoulders like Monty or Freddy. Either way, the mechanic of these animatronics is that they move when the player isn't looking at them. Well, at least after being activated, but hello? That's literally already an SCP mechanic. Peanut, who I mentioned earlier, aka SCP-173, one of the most iconic of all time, like I knew about Peanut before I knew about SCPs, that's the exact way that Peanut acts, just with the exception of not needing activation. So yeah, Glamrock Endos are 100% SCP material. If anything, they already are SCPs. In at 10, Great Escape Golden Freddy. Great Escape Golden Freddy, or for short simply Great Escape Freddy, is the first Golden Freddy skin that was added into FNAF AR. He received this skin as a part of the special mixed reality DLC game mode Dark Circus Encore that released on December 13th, 2021. Great Escape Golden Freddy is identical to Golden Freddy in coloration, still being yellow, but now is a much duller shade, with black and green splotches on his head, legs, and feet. His head is severely withered in multiple areas, with most of it being deteriorated or missing, including half of his top hat. His eye sockets are completely empty, with holes going through the endoskeleton head and a chain running through his mouth. But like, just looking at this thing, I already fear for my life like I'm in another dimension or like a secret area of the simulation. So seeing this thing in the back rooms wouldn't, in my mind, be out of place. I mean, if this is where like defective game implements go, this could be a simple explanation for how this mess of a creature got there, because I don't think that this is intentional. At least it shouldn't be. In at 9, Withered Bonnie. Withered Bonnie is an antagonist in FNAF 2, and a recurring character that also appears in Help Wanted. He is a damaged version of the original Bonnie incarnation. Withered Bonnie is a dirty, dry blue with a lighter blue on his ears and torso. His face is missing, leaving a dark gap with wires dangling all over. His endoskeleton face and red and white pupils are scarcely visible. He has round, thin teeth on his bottom jaw, and given his state of disrepair, I think it would make complete sense for this monster to be present in the back rooms. I mean, this guy is like the original Nightmare animatronic in a sense. 100% the scariest part of FNAF 2 in the eyes of many people, and if it's not, you really need to sort out your priorities, because this dude is terrifying. Their whole thing is being seemingly broken only to spring to life and come after you, which is just the kind of thing that would be present in the back rooms. This dude is a menace, and with his ability to flicker lights like we see in Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF 2, he would pose a difficult challenge to overcome, especially with the monster that's already present there right on your tail. In at 8, Shadow Animatronics. The Shadow Animatronics are ghost-like entities with an unknown place of origin, whereabouts, and history. Shadow Freddy and RWQFSFASXC, aka Shadow Bonnie, are the only two recurring Shadow Animatronics from throughout the series. The Shadow Animatronics lack solid forms as they appear to be shadows, supernatural specter-like things with forms based on the Fazbear Entertainment animatronics. Most of them have very dark colors while sporting glowing white eyes and teeth, which is just perfect for the context of the backrooms. These dudes share a very similar style to the monster that we already see running around in the popular video series, and these dudes would pose an ever-looming threat that would really heighten the intensity of these videos. Imagine just like a shadow flying across the screen, or thinking you see some dark figure out of the corner of your eye, and then it's gone. A flashlight could be used as a defense mechanism. Okay, it would be cool. Okay, it would be cool. In at 7, Plush Babies. The Plush Babies are a group of at least 3 plushies that make an appearance in both FNAF Help Wanted and its DLC The Curse of Dreadbear as antagonists. The Plush Babies' appearance seems to be based on the Circus Baby Funko plushie in our real world, and they are pale white-skinned clown-like plushies with light blue eyes and orange hair and pigtails, because you know what, pigtails make everything scarier. They also have a red top to their stomach with an orange triangle on their belly. The orange triangle also has a small fan printed on it, because of course it does. Because why take one of the weirdest things in FNAF and shrink it? Because why not? They also have a red nose and a smile with their mouth connected to their red cheeks. One has a red outfit, one has blue, and one has yellow. And while they might have their own behavior, I mean, just look at this thing and tell me it couldn't be an SCP, okay? It's a plush animatronic, for God's sakes. Plus, there has been weirder stuff, at least in the context of like weird base objects, like a telephone, or literally the egg that only lets you say egg when describing it. Like, come on. The plush babies and all their weirdness would absolutely be classified as an SCP. And at 6, Nightmare Endo. Nightmare Endo is the animatronic endoskeleton of Nightmare Fredbear. He technically first debuted in FNAF 4, but returned as a minor Easter egg in Help Wanted to help provide a bit of context. Mostly since a lot of people, myself included, thought that Nightmare had a brain that was visible from the outside. I mean, I don't know why the Nightmare animatronic have an endoskeleton, or even why Nightmare especially has an endoskeleton, given that he's just a figment of Crying Child's coma-induced imagination, but nevertheless, Nightmare Endo is probably the scariest version of an endoskeleton that I have seen. Like, holy crap, if this thing doesn't belong in the back rooms, I don't think any of these would, cause like this one is freaky, but realistically made and discarded by the devs. Or maybe the animatronic that this was made for in Chuck E. Cheese ended up falling through the world and then got into the back rooms the same way we did. I don't know, I just think this style of character fits in here pretty well. Halfway through into number 5, Boulder Toy Bonnie. Boulder Toy Bonnie is a stone Toy Bonnie released on November 9th of 2020 in FNAF AR. He was also added as Toy Bonnie's second skin and the second member of the Haunted Forest event. Boulder Toy Bonnie is a completely gray Toy Bonnie made up entirely of stone. His body shows severe damage as parts of him have crumbled off and various cracks show throughout his stomach and limbs. He's also shown to be covered in moss and has vegetation growing out of some of the cracks in his body. Finally, his eye sockets are also completely empty like my soul, and he has a full set of upper teeth unlike his normal counterpart. And if this isn't just like the Five Nights at Freddy's version of Peanut, the SCP, I don't know what is, okay? Like this is just Peanut with a different paint job. For all I know, Boulder Toy Bonnie is probably reinforced with rebar. And while they may not be SCP-173, I still feel like this is the sort of behavior that we could expect from Bonnie, or at least this version of Bonnie in the backrooms. And I think it would actually fit in quite well, to be honest. I think it would work. Camera's on him, pans away, and then he's gone. In at 4, The Blob. The Blob is an amalgamation of various animatronics that appears in FNAF Security Breach as a secret antagonist. And as its name suggests, the Blob is a huge mass of wire, tentacles, and animatronic parts possessing many glowing red eyes. However, this seems to be the right kind of monster that you would find in the backrooms. The Blob's mind is that of a mindless monster reacting with simple grunts and screeches that are both deep and distorted, as well as low mechanical sounding snoring noises. Some theorize that this implies all the animatronics making up the amalgamation are constantly fighting each other for control, which I think would fit perfectly with the monsters already established to be in the backrooms, especially those in the popular YouTube series that kinda brought back this creepypasta. Dude is like just a mass with a couple of animatronic plastic faces smacked on top. That is 100% something that you'd see out of like the corner of your eye in the corner of the frame, and then you'd pan to see it and it's gone. Getting close to the end, in number 3, Mapbot. Honestly, I kinda wish that there was a Mapbot in the back rooms. This would have been something that would be incredibly helpful in a seemingly infinite maze. The Mapbot is probably one of the most hated animatronics in FNAF of all time, with the worst jump scare in all of FNAF, but especially in all of Security Breach. This is something though that is certainly the scariest part of that game, and an unexpected jump scare that actually ends up even scaring me in the Security Breach but it's ruined by Mod's series playthrough here on the channel. But the jump scare giving you a map for the basement levels actually could be useful if you were given a map for the back rooms. I mean, come on, we could really use one. Just look at like any actual image or design for the back rooms. It's all the same. And that's the point, okay? It's the same wall texture, it's the same floor texture. Even when you go to a different floor, it looks the same. Some landmarks, like maybe a dumpster, but nothing substantial enough to actually help you find your way until you get there. So yeah, a map would certainly come in handy. I don't think Mapbot would be in the backrooms for scare purposes, although it would certainly add to it. I think that the Mapbot would be there just as a bit of pity, you know, as a bit of help, so you could actually manage to find your way around if you can actually end up finding the map bot. Penultimately, and at number 2, Burn Trap. Burn Trap is the final boss of the true ending in FNAF Security Breach, and the last remains of William Afton's physical body after the events of Pizzeria Simulator. Just like Spring Trap and Scrap Trap from previous FNAF games, Burn Trap is a withered spring body animatronic infused with the corpse of William Afton. However, unlike the previous two, very little suit remains on his body, only having a head, ears, torso, pelvis, left thigh, and left foot. His endoskeleton appears to be a mixture of Springlock and Glamrock endoskeletons, and this dude is the scariest version of Afton yet, and I think it's kind of a monstrosity, and I think that this kind of monstrosity would fit perfectly within the style of the Backrooms. He limps because he wasn't fully charged, he's part sentient code, which seems like the kind of lore that they would include, and he's just blatantly terrifying. If any version of Afton is going to be in the Backrooms, it would be Burn Trap 100%, no question. And finally, in at number 1, Nightmare-On. Nightmare-On, commonly referred to as the Nightmare Puppet or Nightmarionette, is a nightmare animatronic in the FNAF series, first appearing in the Halloween update for FNAF 4, where it replaces Nightmare and thus shares the same behavior. But using the same argument as the Blob with the whole tentacle situation, Nightmare-On is probably the most Backrooms animatronic we have. Period. While yes, they did appear in FNAF 4's Halloween update, they also made an appearance in FNAF VR, where they antagonize the player in one of the Night Terror levels. But it's within this level where you can actually see how far of a reach this animatronic has, since if you look up to the ceiling and towards the bed, you can see tentacles slowly start to enter your room that you need to scare away with your flashlight. So basically, based on the really prevalent monster that we see in the Backrooms, this man fits the bill right on, smack dab in the middle, plus a like 25% tip, just saying. In at 10, White Rabbit. The White Rabbit is a version of Bonnie first appearing in FNAF World, and while this game is probably the least respected and most hated in the series, my god is this thing terrifying. This is like a miniature version of Bonnie, alright? That's not so bad, right? Well, the thing is, it's completely white and has sunken black eyes with no pupils. Yeah, that makes this thing look freaking terrifying. I don't care, okay, that you go to the comments and complain that this character is here, okay? It happens every time I make a list. There's always like at least one person who says, oh, this isn't scary, why are they on this list? Scary is subjective, okay? So shove it. Anyway, this little white rabbit is one of the scariest versions of Bonnie in the series in my opinion. It's only higher up on the list because of the game. If it was in something like FNAF 4 or another main series title, it would have been scarier, especially putting it in a situation like that. But nevertheless, I still think it deserves the spotlight, and I think that it could be found in the Backrooms, considering its design and its seemingly glitchedness. Okay, it doesn't feel like it should exist, hence why it would be in the Backrooms. And at 8, High Score Toy Chica. High Score Toy Chica is the arcade skin for Toy Chica from the Arcade Mayhem event in FNAF AR Special Delivery. Last time I included System Error Toy Bonnie because a glitch like this would be present in the Backrooms because it seems to be a sort of developer room where an animatronic like this could be present. High Score Toy Chica isn't really anything different. They're neon bluish black in color with glowing blue aura effects. It sports yellow and orange irises. Her forearms appear more blue and contain polycount textures. The Let's Party text for her bib is replaced by High Score in a pixelated font. And when her minigame appears, you gotta spam V to throw cupcakes at the child until they're happy. If you take too long, she's gonna jump scare you. But during encounters, she is replaced by her attack mode, Game Over Toy Chica. The glowing aura effects color changes from blue to purple and red. Her eyes are removed to reveal a red eye part thing. I don't know how to say this word, okay? Sclera, whatever. Her eyes are red, and her bib now reads Game Over. Like her original counterpart, her beak is also removed in this form. And you know what? This is totally something that I would expect to see in the Backrooms, and she's kind of inviting me there, and maybe I wouldn't be too mad about it. And it's 7, Mini-Renas. Mini-Renas are small, bare, female-style mannequin-like dolls that accompany Ballora and her gallery, dancing alongside of her. They seem to be modeled after artist mannequins with articulated joints and heads that appear to be simply full white masks covering a ball joint at the neck. They do not have any details or moving moving facial parts, no teeth, no eyes, the only exception being during their jump scare animation, at which time they have glowing yellow irises. Potentially for paranormal reasons, but it's unclear. Their feet are colored in a pale white to make them look like they're wearing shoes, and when on stage with Ballora they wear tutus, like she does, because of course they do. How could they get any creepier? Only colored in white though, and less detailed than hers. However, they are completely bare during Sister Location's Night Force Spring Lock Suit event, which makes me feel like I need to call Chris Hansen, but either way, these little fuckers are absolutely Backrooms material. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Try and disagree with me. These are just trying to crawl inside me so they'll burst from the inside like they do in Fazbear Frights' book Room for One More, or in the story Room for One More. But instead of escaping the Backrooms, they just want me to explode. Or hell, they'll crawl inside me hoping that I'll escape so that I can take them with me. Just no, okay? Hell no. Oh, hell no. And at 6, the daycare attendant. The daycare attendant, otherwise known in-game as Sun or Moon, is a superstar daycare animatronic that appears in Security Breach as a recurring antagonist in their Moon form. As Sun, the daycare attendant is upbeat and energetic, similar to Funtime Freddy. He enjoys doing activities with children, such as putting on puppet shows and drinking Fizzy Fazz, but when Gregory knocks down the foam stacks as a way to distract him, his son quickly panics and then rushes to clean them up. He's also very serious about keeping the lights on as a way to prevent himself from transforming into the Moon. As the Moon, the daycare attendant is malevolent and aggressive, who constantly chases Gregory once the lights are turned off and attempts to punish him for going past his bedtime, even though Moon still has a distaste for messes and has the responsibility of cleaning them up as his daytime counterpart does, but to a more demented degree, because, you know, of course it does. And this kind of switcheroo is exactly something that I would expect to be in the Backrooms. This kind of demented creature able to follow you at the top of every hour, yeah. At least it would give you a way to keep track of time, but every hour would honestly be a lot. It would be a lot to deal with, especially because we don't know a way out yet. Halfway through, and at number 5, Boulder Toy Bonnie. Boulder Toy Bonnie is a stone Toy Bonnie released on November 19th, 2020. He was added as Toy Bonnie's second skin and the second member of the Haunted Forest event. Boulder Toy Bonnie is a completely gray Toy Bonnie made up entirely of stone. His body shows severe damage as parts of him have crumbled off and various cracks show throughout his stomach and limbs. He also appears to be very covered in moss and vegetation as it's growing throughout him and actually inside some of the cracks in his body. And finally, his eye sockets are completely empty, and he has a full set of upper teeth, unlike his normal counterpart. This isn't just the Five Nights at Freddy's version of Peanut. I don't know what is, okay? Like, this is just Peanut, but with a different paint job. This is Peanut with extra steps. For all I know, Boulder Bonnie could be reinforced with rebar, okay? Like, which seems to be what Peanut was reinforced with as well, from what I remember of the wiki, okay? Boulder Toy Bonnie is the SCP-173 of FNAF. Getting close to the end, and number 3, the Puppet. The Puppet is an animatronic puppet and a major antagonist of the FNAF series. First appearing as the seemingly main antagonist of FNAF 2, the way we've seen this character move along with their design is very reminiscent of some fan images made of the Backrooms. The puppet seemingly moves by floating, something shared with many fan creations of Backrooms monsters, and if not, we saw it walk in FNAF VR in one of the most horrifyingly disgusting ways. So yeah, I mean, ignoring the fact that they used to be a security bot and only attack the player because they look like the man that killed them, you can't tell me that the puppet would be out of place in the Backrooms. I mean, like, this thing has discernible characteristics that would make it scarier. I mean, a seemingly lifeless blob with no face whose only purpose is to kill you is one thing, but that with a face and motivation makes it even scarier. Penultimately, in at number 2, Vanny Bots. The Vanny Bots, as I call them, or as they're listed on the wiki, the Nightmare On staff bots, bear the same model appearance to their newer counterparts, excluding a rusty texture, glowing eyes, and a creepy smile drawn on their blank, unforgiving faces. They also have black tear streaks in a similar fashion to Nightmare On, or more specifically, the ghosts of William Afton's past victims, seen in their ghost forms pixelated in the second and third game's minigames. The bots also have "In Your Dreams" written on their chest, because you know what? They had to do something. The Nightmare On staff bots' roles are largely unchanged from regular staff bots. However, they only really appear like in a specific area. Okay, the Vanny bots are only lethal in the sewers, killing the player if they fall into the pits, but they also mostly appear in hidden areas and during Vanny's final sequence where they disassemble Freddy and act as obstacles to the player reaching Vanny's room. They also appear guarding the FNAF 6 location during the true ending, otherwise known as the canon or Afton ending. But just one look at these guys and you can see how I wouldn't be surprised if one of these, or a group of these, damn it, even ended up in the back rooms, because yeah. And it's 7, Mangle. Mangle is a major antagonist and one of the toy animatronics of the FNAF series, first appearing in FNAF 2. When transferring the core cast of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza into toy animatronics, Fazbear Entertainment tried to remake Foxy's design, thinking that the first one, ironically enough, was too scary. It was heavily altered to be more kid-friendly, making them the most drastically changed toy variant. However, now Mangle is just a muddled husk of endoskeleton that kids can pull apart and put back together, which is absolutely horrifying to say the least. But this kind of monster would absolutely be present in the horrific maze that is the backrooms. I mean, just take a look at the monster already shown to be there. Throw a pink face on it and then boom, it's Mangle, okay? It's the same concept as the Blob or Nightmarion from the last part. It's just a jumbled mess of parts that would chase you until you throw yourself down a hole and drop your camera. And at 6, Toxic Springtrap. Toxic Springtrap is the second skin in the Wasteland event from FNAF AR, and he is also the first skin for Springtrap in that game. Toxic Springtrap has a repulsive appearance, covered in pale-like tumor-like warts, tentacle-like veins, and some moldy skin patches. And he also is exuding gassy fumes at all times, kinda like me. The infectious-looking traits, including his corpse, were shaded with purple and indigo tints as possibly a throwback to his iconic color of his Human Form's minigame appearance, the purple guy. But I mean, along the same lines as Radioactive Foxy, this is just a seemingly broken mechanic that would get thrown away for when they wanted to do the whole Apocalypse DLC in the simulation or something. This virus didn't kill us, so might as well try again with a series of mutated and toxic animatronics, right? Ha! Well, at least this version of Springtrap is still less toxic than some of my exes, and I will keep making that joke until it stops being true. Halfway through, in at number 5, System Error Toy Bonnie. System Error Toy Bonnie is a neon-themed skin for Toy Bonnie released as part of FNAF AR's Arcade Mayhem event. And while it may seem peculiar and out of place in the backrooms, think about it. The backrooms is a location that's only accessible by no-clipping through the world, accidentally. So understandably, something that revolves around system errors would be lurking within this developer's room, okay? He looks the part too. He shares the same model as Toy Bonnie, but with a few key differences. His general color, including his bow tie, is a neon reddish orange with lines that go through his entire body, similar to the screen effect of an old CRT TV. He also has a pixelated 8-bit style effect coming from his entire body. His mouth and eyes gleam yellow, and red system error text is printed on his stomach, and glowing white eyebrows, freckle spots, and a glowing nose, but he's not Rudolph. How is this not creepy backrooms material, okay? It's a bit iffy, hence why it's still at number 5, but still, it could be cool. And for Springtrap. Springtrap, previously known as Spring Bonnie, is the main antagonist of FNAF 3 and a withered form of Spring Bonnie, and the main antagonist of the FNAF series overall. On the wiki, he is listed as being possessed by William Afton, however the truth is that Springtrap is William Afton after surviving the Springlock failure scene in FNAF 3's minigames, surviving thanks to being possessed by the spirit of the one you should not have killed. But in the back rooms, he would absolutely be present, okay? This guy is an absolute menace, and being the main antagonist, if anyone is going to be there, William certainly would. And Springtrap is the most popular version of this character. Plus, his design seems to fit this style really well. Springtrap is a tattered, formerly yellow Springlock animatronic rabbit with olive green tints, notably on his stomach and the inside of his ears. Like with the withered animatronics from FNAF 2, Springtrap also appears to be in heavy disrepair, evident from the multiple tears throughout his body and wires poking out of his arms and legs. My thinking is that his withering though is due to him trying to get out of the suit by ripping it off of him, but clearly it didn't really work. Getting close to the end, into number 3, Toxic Springtrap. Toxic Springtrap is the second skin in the Wasteland event from FNAF AR. He is also the first skin for Springtrap in the game, and I really wish he wasn't. Toxic Springtrap has a repulsive appearance, covered in pale tumor-like warts, tentacle-like veins, some moldy skin patches, and it's letting out gassy fumes, let's say. The infectious-looking traits, including his corpse, were all shaded with purple and indigo tints as a possible throwback to the iconic color of his Human Form's minigame appearance, you know, purple guy. But I mean, along the same lines as Radioactive Foxy, since they do come from the same event, there is no way that the Foundation is letting this monstrosity out onto the streets, okay? He'd probably have the ability to turn people into creatures like him, be it instantly or slowly, or maybe just like a touch would be enough to kill. Like the kiss of death, but you're only 5 feet away from it and then boom, you're dead. And then boom, you're looking for this! 100% classed as a Keter object, and he'd hopefully be contained in a 1x1 by 7 foot glass tube so that I would never have to deal with Afton again, okay? Call this one SCP-1985. But ultimately, in at number 2, Plush Trap. You've completed a mini game in Help Wanted, alright? The DLC or the main game. You spent the last 10 minutes being terrified out of your wits because you could have died, but it's okay now. It's all over and you're safe. You see a gift box in front of you and this spooky barn-like thing, and you've decided that, you know what, you've earned yourself a little treat. So after throwing some darts at some clown posters to see if there is one, you end up cranking that handle and you wait for your sweet treat. But then, all of a sudden, Plush Trap decides that, you know what, you should have died instead in that minigame. So, he jump scares you. This event is a number of things, but possible in the back rooms, in my mind, is one of them. You stumble upon a random box with a handle that you start to crank. You hear the Pop Goes the Weasel song playing slowly, and suddenly you have a damn tiny burnt tortilla ass looking rabbit monster chasing you all throughout the back rooms. That makes sense, but no thank you. Not gonna happen. I don't like it. I mean, I like it. It's a good idea, but don't do it. And finally, in at number 1, Glam Rock Freddy. Glam Rock Freddy, also just simply known as Freddy Fazbear, is Freddy's glam rock counterpart who appears in FNAF Security Breach as ally to the player. He's also the only animatronic in the Pizzaplex that wasn't corrupted by Vandy's power, at least so we think. Go check out another video for that one. But unlike his counterparts, he actively assists and protects Gregory, and I think his purpose would be much the same in the backrooms. With everything we've seemed to be throwing in here, with the last, like, 2 lists and this one, we could really use an ally, okay? And Freddy could be that ally. The actual mech function would be of great help as long as we're the size of a 4-year-old, but either way, he could definitely help fight off the other monsters like he does in the Phaser Blast ending for Security Breach. Freddy could also gain power-ups, prize boxes such as longer battery life, and this would be the perfect reason to continue exploring the backrooms other than just trying to find a way out. And it would really give the series an added layer of intrigue, and honestly, if it was me, it would prevent me from just sitting there and dying, because I'd actually want to be able to upgrade him so that I could find a way out, because if I didn't, I would have just given up.